everyone, it's Emma Tiebens, your host for Magnetic and Memorable Show. We all work so hard for our money, but do we really have a strategy on how we will retire? Well, my guest today is going to show you his strategies from his book, Amazon best-selling book, Wealth Without Wall Street. With me today is Amazon best-selling author, speaker, trusted advisor, personal financial consultant, Robert San Luis. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Emma. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so good to have you here. So tell us about what you do and what do you do for people and what problems do you solve?
Sure. What I do is transform the way people invest so that they can retire sooner and achieve true financial independence.
Okay. Well, I know for sure that there's so many other experts out there who are, you know, I mean, you turn on the TV and there's so many people talking about, you know, how to retire and what they can do and all that. But I know you have a very unique way that you help your clients to really plan for their retirement.
The book came from a lot of life experience, observing the mistakes that my parents made, having survived mistakes that I made, and having studied all of the books and the ideas that are advanced by all of our celebrated personal finance experts, and of course all of the content you see currently on TV normally. The challenge we're facing, we're all working and trying to accumulate wealth, but most of us don't have a strategy for stopping work. Statistically, less than 3% of Americans at retirement age will be financially free, meaning 97% of us are going to be either working till we're dead, relying on Social Security or friends and family to survive later in life. So my goal is to address strategies for reaching that place where you can stop working.
Wow. I mean, that's a scary statistic that you just shared, right? I mean, that's a very small percentage of people who could actually retire comfortably. I mean, the baby boomer generation, you know, we've been retiring, right? But there's another next generation that's kind of following right behind us, right? So what is it that you show people how to? Like, what makes it different from everything else that they've heard out there?
Well, one of the keys, in my opinion, that is the cause of pain and suffering for a lot of people is speculation. I'm sure you've heard of the famous rap star 50 Cent, who was worth at one point hundreds of millions of dollars, now declaring bankruptcy. And of course there are a lot of famous stories of people who've had great wealth only to be suffering, or people who've won the lottery and back to where they were before.
Right.
The problem is speculation. The idea is most people are taught, well, let's buy a no-load mutual fund or a stock at X price and hopefully it'll be 10X when we retire. Buy a bar of gold at X price and hope it'll be 10X when we retire. To me, that's just like going to Vegas, putting it all on red or black, because that process is totally unknowable. My analogy for that is, imagine you're traveling from Los Angeles to Tokyo, okay? And so you're now middle of your life, halfway over the Pacific Ocean. What we're taught to do is turn off the engine.
Oh boy.
And then figure out, hope and pray that we have enough resources and altitude to get to our destination. Meanwhile, yes, exactly. Meanwhile, we don't know what the markets are going to do. We don't know what tax policy is going to be. We don't know what's going to happen to interest rates. We don't know when we're going to die. We don't know any of those things. Yet, all of the experts will say, oh, just max out your 401k, buy a no-load mutual fund, dollar cost average, live like a miser. So my idea is, instead of turning off the engine, I want those engines full blast all the way. So invest for income. Find assets, build a portfolio of assets, whether it's apartments, mobile home parks, self-storage, private notes, even fixed annuities. Something that's generating cash right now that you can count on. So once you have a portfolio of assets that are generating current income now, and once you get to the point where you can cover your living expenses, that's the point at which you're free. It's not the accumulation of some massive pile of money, 100 million or whatever crazy number that might be.
So that's really new for me, at least. You know, I know that people are looking for income properties or resources to invest in. But what do you say to people who don't necessarily have a big chunk of change to invest in something like a mobile home, or, you know, what can they do now to start income generating and build up on that?
Sure. Well, I think that business owners, entrepreneurs, there's really two parts to the equation in terms of our financial life. And early on, as we're trying to accumulate assets, I recommend that most of your resources be put into your business. Invest in yourself, your ability to generate wealth. Obviously, it takes more assets to invest in those things I referred to, commercial real estate and the like. So before you're able to do that, I say invest mostly in yourself and increase your ability to generate revenue with your business, because that's really the best investment you can make as a business owner or entrepreneur. And then as time goes on, then you put money in these assets that are generating current income.
I love that strategy, and I'm sure, you know, our audience appreciates that as well, because we are told to hold off, right? Everything is just, we hold off on when we can invest. Meanwhile, we're neglecting the very resource that we have, which is ourselves, right? If we don't invest in ourselves, then the mindset, we won't have the mindset or the heart set or the courage or the the relationships that come through that investing in ourselves, right?
Sure, and there's a whole spectrum, whether it's the spirituality, psychology side of things, down to practical tools, marketing, online, etc. There's a whole spectrum of skills that I think are important to learn and develop to be optimally performing in this digital world, because there's so many things that one needs to do to compete in our digital economy, because we're no longer local and linear.
That's right. That's right. So you seem to be very, very knowledgeable with finance. Has there been a time in your life, a lesson learned, or why you've become passionate about what you do now?
Well, I would say, having seen the mistakes that my parents made, they were both doctors and they worked very hard, and they made all kinds of mistakes that doctors are famous for as investors. And again, it goes to investing in mostly speculative assets, and my own experiences too.
So it's interesting you mentioned doctors. So are some of your clients doctors? What clients do you usually work with?
My ideal client is going to be either a physician or someone in professional practice, lawyers, accountants, business owners. And I can also be of help to struggling entrepreneurs. I have kind of a wide spectrum, but more specifically for those investors looking for places to put their money, I would say primarily business owners and professional, practicing professionals.
Very good. So can you say that as a child, were you always fascinated with finance or numbers or things like that? Do you remember that, high school or?
I was not like a mathematical genius or anything like that. I like to have fun, I like to play golf, like to travel, and maybe my interest in that motivated me to try and work on solving this problem that we all face. How do we stop working? Because if we don't have an investment strategy, we're not going to get there. My goal is to create a movement to change the way people invest and think about investing.
Wow. I love the sound of that movement. So you are obviously you made it to our show, which is Magnetic and Memorable Show, where we feature memorable brands with the magnetic people behind the brand, and obviously you are. So do you have a suggestion on how you live your life where it's magnetic, where you're magnetizing resources, relationships, and people to you?
That's a big question. I would start with encouraging people to have a healthy spiritual aspect. starting with that. If you have a healthy relationship with our Creator and acknowledge and have an awareness of something bigger than yourself, because without that faith, it's going to be hard to maintain the state of mind to really accomplish anything. So that would be probably one of the first things. And then to spend some time figuring out what is your true calling. How do I live to my full potential? How do I express that fully? And then probably additionally, the challenge for me, I try to aspire to excellence, try to do things well. Sure, I accept the fact that I'm flawed and I make mistakes and always will. But I try to remind myself that it's important to maintain a positive state of mind, and it's a continuous challenge to be driven and ambitious. But I think a lot of people face that. I have no secret sauce. That's a very personal thing, but it's all a matter of commitment.
Well, commitment and, like you said, knowing who you really are and how powerful you are with the connection of something greater than yourself. I mean, that really sums it up beautifully. So do you have any tip for our audience right now as far as, you know, regardless of where they are in their retirement planning, right? Some of them probably already have, you know, people they work with, or some of them are looking for someone to work with. What next step do you recommend for them?
Well, certainly buying my book on Amazon would be a good step. and visiting my website, robertsanluis.com. I would encourage people to start thinking about developing an investment strategy for retirement and trying to think about, well, how am I going to stop working? And start that process to learn, okay, what are some of these other assets? How do I replace my income? Because it's not about what's your number.
I like that. It's not about what's your number.
No,
and the question of
number.
how, that's the wrong number, sorry, wrong number.
Yeah.
It's like, how will I, what was that again? How
replace my working income with passive income. That's the whole problem right there.
Okay.
There are a lot of people out there who will sell you different investments, but if there's no strategy and if it's just speculation based, that's how we get to our 97 versus 3% percentage.
That's what I love about your book and you and what you teach, is that you are about strategy. You simplify strategies, and it's incredible. So where can they go? Again, robertsanluis.com, and you're going to have a link down below, of course. Go to his website, check it out. He has a lot of wonderful articles and blogs that he's written and videos. One last thing, legacy. You said you want to create a movement. So tell us more about where you see Robert San Luis in the next 5 years.
For me, I just want to share my message. I'm dedicated to sharing my message to help people figure out how they can be financially free, because there's a lot of bad information out there, in my opinion, and so I hope to share good information that is implementable and usable and practical, and hopefully change a few lives that way.
I think you're going to be changing a lot of lives. I'm certainly going to keep in touch with you about my own personal questions. Well, Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you here.
Likewise.
Thank you. Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so happy to have Robert San Luis. Make sure you check his website and buy his book, Wealth Without Wall Street, The 7 Keys to an Early Retirement. You will love it. Okay, till our next episode, here's to success with satisfaction and significance.